Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janie Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. I hope you're well. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to give a shout out to our sponsor this week. I don't often have sponsors on the podcast. As you know, I made a decision not to have conventional kind of advertising or to join any of those platforms where you have ads popping up because, well, quite frankly, they're really annoying and I just could not be. It just doesn't feel authentic to be promoting something that you don't really fully believe in. So when we do have a sponsor whose stuff we really do believe in, it's absolutely great. So huge shout out to this week's sponsor, who is Sober AF Dating. Now, you might have heard Helen on last week's live podcast, got a chance to chat to Helen on the live podcast at Club Soda. But if you're on a journey to live an alcohol-free life, or you're looking for like-minded people who want to socialize without the booze, then you need Sober AF Dating. So Helen is a powerhouse businesswoman, very much a straight talker, founder of Sober AF Dating, along with business partner and friend Jonathan. She's on a mission to prove that dating without alcohol isn't just possible, but it's fun, it's exciting, and it's absolutely real. So Helen had a few too many dates ruined by the booze. She shared a few stories for us last week, decided enough was enough, and Sober AF Dating was born. It's for people who are choosing to date without alcohol as the main event. And Jonathan already had his own successful business, really wanted to create a space where people can connect, form genuine relationships, and have fun without that pressure of alcohol being the center. So their mission is to make alcohol-free dating and friendships fun and easy and normal. So no awkward explanations, no raised eyebrows, just real connections with people who share your lifestyle and values. So their whole aim is to make it real, make it about more than just dating. It has to be about real talk and real people, real connections. It's for the sober curious and the alcohol free. So check them out, soberafdating.com. At the moment, you can register for updates on the app, news on their social events, their community events, and podcasts that are up and coming. I think we're going to be hearing an awful lot more from this fantastic brand, Sober AF Dating. It's a no BS dating and community app, because let's face it, sober should absolutely not mean boring. And, you know, I do get these questions all the time from people in the Sober Club. Sometimes they're second time around on the dating front, and they'll say to me, I don't know what to put on my profile if I'm trying to connect with someone online. Do I say I'm sober? Do I not say I'm sober? What do I do? And here's an opportunity to actually go about dating in a really authentic way, where you can actually meet people for whom alcohol is not the main focus. Isn't that great? It's just a fantastic idea. So check them out. Follow them on Instagram as well. So because I've been doing a couple of weeks on BBC Northampton, which has been great fun, by the way, getting back in the saddle presenting, I thought, in honor of that, I thought I'd go a bit 80s, 90s tastic on the podcast and rerun a bit of an interview that I did with Soni from Hootie and the Blowfish from a couple of years ago. I played a Hootie and the Blowfish track on BBC Northampton. I remembered that I'd interviewed Soni, and it was a really interesting interview. So I thought I'd give you another chance to hear that. But just before we do that, I thought I'd just share a couple of things that came up in our Sober Club community this week, because there was somebody who wrote a post and just said, I keep going around the block, you know, I do well for a while, and then I just seem to go back to it. So somebody asked, what is your top tip? What has worked for you to fend off the wine witch? And I thought, rather than me just sharing it all again, I'd share a couple of the responses that people wrote, because it's great to hear how people reply. So Julie replied and said, Well, actually, your post reminded me to count the days. It's day 700 for me. And what I remember, what worked for me is immersing myself in podcasts, ordering loads of Quitlet and reading materials and alternative drinks in the early days. And I also did a fair bit of journaling. And someone else said this was my lifesaver. Keep the ritual, change the ingredients, and a game changer for me. And also remembering to keep curious, asking why is the wine witch? Why does she keep popping up? Really helped me to get past the urges. A mantra, the podcast, and exercise for me, says Karen. And Wendy said, what did it for me was having something alcohol free in a pretty glass, reminding myself of the benefits of staying alcohol free by listening to podcasts or rereading some Quitlet, playing things forward in my mind and visualizing how I'm going to feel getting into my bed with a lovely clear head, and then how I'm going to feel waking up well rested without self-loathing. Yeah, that's a big one. This last technique was the most powerful, literally chasing the positive feelings and emotions that would be waiting for me if I ignored the wine witch. Very good advice. And Mary says, distraction. I dusted off my bike and I cycled. I had a route of about 5 miles, which took an hour. Did it every evening. I actually started to enjoy it, finding all the reminiscing about stuff going on at the moment triggering, but the bike was dusted off again. So it's distraction plus the mantra, keep the ritual, change the ingredients. Good quality alcohol-free lagers are a game changer, and constantly reminding myself that I wanted to ditch the wine and I felt much better without it. Mind over matter. So isn't that great when you just hear the responses that people gave? You know, we've all been there. We've all done that round the block thing, kind of, you know, come off the booze, gone back on it again, got, you know, listen to the wine witch. But there comes a time when the light goes on and you realize, hold on a minute, there is nothing to lose, nothing to give up, not one single thing to give up, and everything to gain. So if that's where you're at the moment, give it a go and join us in the Sober Club, because that connection piece, it really is everything. We do have an online course, Get the Buzz Without the Booze, as part of our membership. So that's really helpful to just enable you to focus on what it is you have decided you really want for yourself. Just a couple of things to mention. Going to be doing another Family Constellations Day soon. I haven't actually got the date booked yet, so I can't give you the date. But if you are interested, drop me a message. You can follow me on social media at Janie Lee Grace. And just a mention that the Sober Coach training, we have one coming up at the end of April. That is full, but we are taking bookings now. We are chatting to people about the next Sober Coach training, which kicks off in October. So I fully appreciate this isn't for everybody, but if you have ditched the booze and it's something you've been thinking about, you know, a new purpose, or just really laying the foundations for your own sobriety, then just drop me a message, get in touch, and we can have a chat. Absolutely no salesy pressure. I'm a really big believer that the right people show up. I don't sell it. The right people will come along. I really believe that. So if that's of interest, just drop me a message and we can have a conversation. Right now, another chance to hear a blast from the past.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted. This feels like I'm going back to my music biz days, honestly. Since forever, I have loved Hootie and the Blowfish, and I'm so delighted that I get to chat to, we're going to call him Soni, Jim Sonnefeld. Have I got that right, or have I blown it already?
Nailed it.
Okay, well, we'll call you Soni. I understand that's okay. Yeah, just such a fascinating story. I haven't had a chance to read the whole book yet, but original drummer, of course, of Hootie and the Blowfish, and now this author of this book, Swimming with the Blowfish, which is your memoir. And what we're going to talk about, of course, is hopefully a bit about your background and your sobriety and just how it's impacted on everything. So it's amazing to connect with you, Soni. It really is. I feel like we ought to have met in the past, but I don't know whether Hootie and the Blowfish ever came into Radio 2. Would you remember that?
We dabbled in UK radio. toured in like from 95 to 2000, and then went back for a brief visit in 2019. Didn't do a ton of media in 2019, but had a blast going back to the same venues.
I think I might have met you guys when I think you might have come into Virgin Radio when I was working there, or at least we might have come to a gig. So we've kind of connected, but obviously in a very different path. So anyways, just take me back then. Let's just talk a bit about those Hootie and the Blowfish days. Tell us, share with us some of your memories, I guess. I mean, we think of, I mean, wasn't it the Letterman show that really kicked off that album, the Crack Rear View? Wasn't it Letterman?
Yeah, we had. I always loved the saying, "Luck is when preparation meets opportunity." And it was
I love that.
On a high school gymnasium growing up, and I never quite understood it until we'd been working as a band for probably 5 years, paying our dues, toiling in the clubs, learning our songwriting craft, and got signed to Atlantic. And still, it wasn't a guarantee. But when luck happened, our preparation and the opportunity of David Letterman hearing our first song that was a little bit on the radio at the time in 1994, he heard Hold My Hand. And that's where, the synergy really kicked off. We were an unknown band. We'd worked our butt off. We had a good following on the southeast of America and the East Coast, but no real break until Letterman says, "Get me these guys with the funny band name and have them play this little 3.5-minute song." And we did, and that changed our trajectory. As you know, it can take one moment or the right person seeing you or something in the air, and that was our moment.
And aren't I right in thinking that he said something like, "If you don't have this album, there's something wrong with you"?
He did. I mean,
and then everyone went out and bought it.
For no apparent reason, became our biggest fan fast. He said things like that. "You're crazy if you don't have it," or recognizes in a very personal way, even though we weren't friends. Is Hootie ready? He would say when we're about to come on, and it was so endearing, and it was a fabulous moment, and that really created a lot of energy. Radio started playing the song once his audience of 6 million people hear it on TV. Suddenly it's a lot easier to get played on the radio.
Yeah, of course.
And we moved from playing, clubs in 94 to amphitheaters by the end of the year. And we're headlining an amphitheater tour, 20,000 people a night in the summer of 95. So the long journey of paying dues is an overnight success, thanks to David Letterman.
Yeah, absolutely. And where does the name come from? I'm sure you've answered that question a million times, but I don't think I know.
We had some college friends, and Darius, our singer, was always given nicknames, not always complimentary either, but he had nicknamed one guy the Blowfish for his big jowls, and another guy was Hootie, either big glasses or big eyes, like an owl. And they walked into a party one night, and somebody said, "Hey, Hootie and the Blowfish are here." And ding, someone else said, "Boy, that'd be a good band name." And if I was there, I would have said, "That'd be a terrible bad name." But hey, I was not a voting member.
Right, cool. So tell us a little bit about the days on the road then. I mean, I'm guessing that's when the drinking ramped up. I mean, it's what we know of rock and roll, isn't it? With endless touring and all the rest of it. I guess that was where it all ramped up for you.
Yeah, it was sure a nice place to camouflage what was probably already a healthy drinking appetite. And when you have the sort of people out there in the world really accepting you and lifting you up and putting you on this pedestal, any of your typical flaws that you already may be aware of or unaware of suddenly wash to the side. You can do no wrong in a lot of people's eyes. They see you as, oh, he's famous. He's making it. He's good. He looks on the outside like a safe person in a safe band having a good time. But for me, I'd been experimenting. I think at age 14 was when I first got in front of peers who were using drugs and alcohol. And though I knew better from the parents and the priests and the police that had visited our home, I still went right for it. I had this attitude of, I want a thrill. I want to see what it does to me. And when I put it in me immediately, I liked what it did. So I rode a little roller coaster from age 14 to 15 years before we made it, when that Letterman moment happened. And you spend a lot of times in clubs. You spend a lot of times practicing nightly geographic changes. So if I would have a bad night in Raleigh, North Carolina, I'd always put it behind me because we're headed to Wilmington, North Carolina the next night, or Washington, D.C., or New York. And I always escaped a lot of trauma, I think, as a result of that continued movement. And when we hit the big time, it just meant it made me feel like we'd succeeded. And alcohol, if nothing else in our society, is a celebration of achievement or accolade or a moment on the calendar. And this was the biggest moment that we four had ever dreamed of. So it lasted more than a few nights, probably 5 years of riding the top. You know, you've been there. You have hits and radios playing the new stuff, and the new album is a hit with everyone. But eventually, by around 2001, you know, it's obvious we're coming down, and the next band with cooler hair and tighter jeans are taking our place. And I didn't know quite what to do with that. I'd started a family, and since alcohol always meant celebration and success, when we were coming down, and I felt it on the inside, and it created fear and doubt, I kept raising the glass higher and faster and more often to say, no, this is all good. We're celebrating. It's okay. And it wasn't okay, because I got caught in that cycle that I couldn't turn off, and eventually led to drugs and bad behavior, not in that order necessarily. But by 2004, the end of it, it was a train wreck. I had a wheel or two on the tracks. And got kicked out of the band. Hadn't lost my family yet, but it was apparent that I was fighting something that was bigger and stronger than me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to go back to those days on the road for a moment, you know, I remember that, I mean, people always talk about how there's all the, you know, there's so much alcohol in this profession and the music biz. And there is, I mean, they're right. I mean, I happen to think that there's alcohol in pretty much every profession. You know, you go meet a doctor in the UK or a teacher, and they'll tell you the same thing. But I think one of the differences is that in the music biz, it's all free, right? You never have to put your hand in your pocket. You know, every gig you do has got a rider, and the only thing that changes as you get more famous is there's more expensive booze on the, you know, there for you, and more of it. So it's just the constant supply, which can't be helpful, really. I mean, were the other guys in the band on the same kind of path, or not?
No, I mean, everybody had an ability to say when, except for me. And as we got further into sort of fame and world travel, and then coming home and trying to, you know, get a normal head on your shoulders, they noticed, and I didn't seem to care. I didn't think it was a big deal that when we went home, I was still using, you know. I liked the joy and the celebration of, you know, coming home and your family and celebrating with friends. And my wife at the time liked to socialize. So I never turned it off. And it took some time for them to realize he goes home and parties and drinks every night. And I was like, yeah. And what I didn't know at the time either is that as my tolerance went up and my chase for that good feeling got more diligent, you know, I was afraid to ever turn it off. I would get like these flu symptoms and not feel right. I would always get sick if I was convinced that I needed to stop for a few days. And I didn't know till much later that was called detoxing. It was dangerous and medical. And it meant that I was in trouble.
Yeah. Wow. So what was the kind of turning point for you then? I read that when you one of your children actually found you in an uncompromising position, which was not helpful.
Yeah. I had two little kids at the time, and I'd been intervened, you know, to be sure. My friends and my bandmates and family members were trying to encourage me in that, you know, if you've ever had an intervention, it's not great when your friends gather around to say they love you and they're worried about you, but they're, you know, they're going to try and get you to stop doing something. I'd been through that already, but it wasn't until my 4-year-old daughter, Cameron, sort of found me. I'd built a detached place to record and have my own time away from our house. And I also conveniently had a full bar back there and a place to stash things. And I'd often, you know, just not make it out of there. I'd stay late, and then I wouldn't make it back in the house. And she came out on a Sunday morning, basically with a very pure 4-year-old question, and she hopped on my chest. I was passed out. It was 10:30 in the morning, and I had the same clothes on that I'd read to her the night before. I probably stunk, and she just said, "Dad, what are you doing?" And it was a very simple question with a very pure, sort of place in her heart was, she meant, why aren't you inside with the family? Why aren't you with us? And she repeated it. What are you doing, Dad? What are you doing? And she finally ran off frustrated, and I was stuck there with sort of, looking upwards going, what am I doing here? Let's get honest for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Am I under control of some chemicals, or am I running the show? Is there something bigger than me even out there in the stratosphere that might be able to help me with this? And that was the moment. It was like I call it a God knock, but for anybody that isn't into that idea, something happened to me on that day that I had never had that thought before. I was always like, I'm not quitting, or you don't tell me what to do. And at this moment, I had an idea that just dropped in from somewhere, and it said, you probably need to ask somebody for help, because you don't seem to be controlling it. And I did. I walked out of that room past my Hootie and the Blowfish gold plaques and accolades on the wall. It was quite ironic that I'm staring at these things and they hold no power at that moment. I know I'm defeated. I'm the boxer in the ring, on the mat, and I've got to ask someone for help. And I'm a 40-year-old successful male, and that is harder than maybe anybody, because I think I'm running the show, right? Me and my ego anyway. And so I did. I reached out to a guy that I knew who had changed his life. I didn't know exactly what he was doing, but he invited me to come to a group of these people that were meeting regularly, and they were practicing this 12-step model. And I had no reason not to try it, because I was in quite a lot of desperation. I guess that's what got me walking down those stairs. Ultimately, I was desperate to get away from the pain and the confusion that sort of life leads to.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it really is that kind of when that light bulb goes on, isn't it? And you're finally able to admit, okay, I haven't got this.
Right. It's miserable, but it can be, it's the beginning of something. Just exactly. It's the end of something.
Yeah, totally. And am I right in thinking that you also did find faith as or was that much later?
Yeah, no, I kind of started off I enjoyed the power of transparency. I was seeing and witnessing in these 12-step groups. It blew me away, because I'd been in some church settings where I didn't ever feel like it was either on the up and up, or that I could be fully honest without some retribution. And these groups were doing it very different. They were telling their stories of their difficulties that involved, losing spouses or jobs or vehicles or licenses, or and others that had lost their lives, and they were quite open and honest. And they also were sort of selling this solution that they said they had. And I thought, this is like an incredible place of healing. And I saw it from the first meeting I went to. So when they said, keep coming back, no pressure, I came right back. I was intrigued. And so a friend had given me what they call a recovery Bible, and it sort of sewed together for me some of the, I guess, Roman Catholic Bible principles that I'd pushed aside from a young age. And it sewed them back in with some of the 12-step principles, and it allowed me to come up and accept, maybe there is something happening with this Bible, the principles at least, maybe not all of the theology, which I still don't understand sometimes, but I got a good mixture of both. And that was all I needed to go forward. I needed to know that, I wasn't God necessarily. I needed to have help and a group around me, and maybe a few confidential people that I could really trust on a deep level.
Yeah. And I read, or I think I heard on you say in an interview, that you found the Serenity prayer particularly helpful. Tell us about that.
I needed something pragmatic, as much the spiritual always meant to me in my childhood and trying to understand these bigger theologies. It always meant something mystical and sort of flaky at times. And I wasn't ever sure of that. And when someone showed me the 12-step model, it seemed rather pragmatic. And some of the prayers associated with it also seemed kind of more logical and like, let's talk about the bottom line here. And so for me, the Serenity prayer is where I can, after I've discovered myself and I understand sort of what makes me tick and my flaws, I can say on a daily basis to try and give it over to some power. I can say, hey, grant me the serenity to accept things I can't change and courage to change the things I can. There's really everything I have in my life fits in one of those two categories. And then it says, and let me organize those and see the difference, because sober or drunk, it doesn't matter. I can get in trouble fighting fights that are not mine. I can blame people for things that are my problem. And I need to have that organized on a daily basis, or I'm not going to get serenity. And I've loved that prayer is a place I can always get to remind myself, okay, am I fighting the right fight here? Or do I need to give in and let life happen because I can't control it? It just always gives me one of two lanes to go in.
Sure. Now, I guess if I were to ask you, some of the benefits that you've found since you got sober, I mean, we'd be here for hours, wouldn't we, really, if we listed them all?
Right.
But just share a few, particularly in relation to, your life. I mean, I'm guessing, number one, you became a much better parent, right? Because it's the best parenting hack ever, isn't it? Best gift we could ever give to our kids. But what about for you as a musician, for you as, because, sorry, I'm slightly switching questions here, but, we sometimes hear, don't we, that musicians can sometimes say, oh, wow, I might not be creative if I'm not getting high. I've heard people say that. So how did it impact your life? I'm guessing for the better.
Yeah, that's great. I had real fears, and a lot of people that are in that middle place of.
Did you? Did you really?
Oh my God! It kept me.
What if I can't write a song if I'm not high? Is it that?
Yeah, I had years, and it's what kept me drinking. The fear. I was drinking at the fear of, I can't do this in front of 10,000 people without the thing that I've been doing regularly.
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah.
I've written great songs, and often it's with the elixir of alcohol or drugs, and whether I created it or the drugs helped open my mind, it doesn't matter. It was just the fear that I would have to change, trying to do my creative process in a completely different way. And that scared the hell out of me. And it scares a lot of people and probably keeps them in the booze for fear of that. When I finally made that cutoff and said, it's obvious it's controlling me, I've got to try a new way, I found the greatest gift was time. I had more damn free time. Where I wasn't obsessing over where to get the first drink, or where I wasn't calling up my drug dealer to set up something and have to lie and keep a secret as a result. And then once I started using, I didn't get to control the ending. I don't. Once I start, it starts a craving that I personally can't control. And so I lost all this time thinking I was chasing creativity. And in reality, when I got clean, I had all this damn time. And it was, I had the morning. I had never figured out that the morning was something to
who knew there were two 6 o'clocks in one day?
The only 6 o'clock I ever saw in the morning was when I was closing the curtains to keep the people who were going to work out of my conscious. So I had mornings, and that same daughter who was 4, who gave me my last sort of words of wisdom. What are you doing, Dad? I got to take her, to kindergarten. On the first day. And in the book, I write about the thrill that I never thought was a thrill. But the gratitude that I had for not having that monkey on my back and being able to walk in that school with her, clear-headed as I could be, and say, there is something new for me. And it continued to open the ideas of, I have more time. I have more thinking power. I was getting a little wet-brained at the end from my nightly use, and now I felt like some brain cells might have been growing back, and I could start healing some relationships. That was a big part of it too. I had some no boundaries, and I had bad relationships all over the place, and it allowed me to start sorting through that. And I needed a confidant. I needed therapy. I needed the step work. I needed it all. It didn't just come as an event. It was a process that has taken years. And so I have to be diligent, but I love that we get the gift of time, right? We don't have to go through the things that we put ourselves through.
Yeah, totally. So how many years have you been sober now?
I'm working on 18 plus.
Oh, wow. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
I say this all the time on the podcast, but I just love the fact that people have been sober for so many years. It's still such a thing. It's a thing. And it will always be, it's because when I got to 1 year, I remember thinking, oh, Right. Is that kind of it now? That will let everything be a bit flat now? But absolutely not. It literally gets better every single year. And I love the fact that people have been sober for years and years and years, just still talk about it. It's more important than their birthday. Their soberversary is more important. Because it's just so massive. It's just such a massive thing, isn't it? It's just beautiful.
If it didn't give us gifts, I don't think we would keep doing it. Honestly,
no, exactly.
It proves that when you do the work and when you put in the work to healing and to being honest with yourself and open-minded enough to understand other concepts other than your own thoughts, when you have growth in that area, I'm not surprised really that it keeps getting better. That onion we peel back layers to understand deeper themes of our hearts and minds. And yeah, if it didn't get better, I'd probably go back to drinking, honestly.
No, I mean, it does. And it's in so many different ways. And this is where I think it's really difficult to try to explain to other people because, you talk about the obvious benefits that you hope people are going to feel, but it's tiny things as well. And the fact that being sober helps you feel more brave. And it makes you able to cope with things that you couldn't cope with before. Because life doesn't always necessarily become perfect, right? When you stop drinking, you might still get a bit of shit thrown at you. But you're able to deal with it in a different way. Just more resilient, more clarity, more calm. You can just handle things differently. I think that's been one of the most massive things for me that I could never have expected. I don't think anyone could have described it to me. I wouldn't have really known what it meant. That sense of being able to experience joy. The word joy, I sometimes talk about this. I'd only ever heard the word joy within church circles. Wow. Right. The kind of, you'd sing about joy in a hymn or I only knew the word joy with regard to church. That's it. Or maybe if I, might play with the kids or something, but even then, not really, I really did not know what that meant at all. Mm-mm. I had no concept of what that felt like.
And how beautiful is the discovery of a new word as an adult to say,
I know.
Freedom is my word that I thought I knew what freedom was. I had this definition and it meant I can do what I want, when I want. I can drink when I want. I can tell you to F off. That's freedom to me. And then I discover years down the road, that's not freedom. I have freedom and understanding that it surpasses that by miles. It's insane. Totally. I love that we get new things again, and we get to see things. Because what I learned more so is that though I wanted to change some people and I wanted to change some things out there that I was hung up on, tangled up in the government this or my lawyer this, I was mad at all these people. The truth was going through either steps or some reconciliation and healing allows me to realize I'm not changing any of that. Let's get that down for sure. I thought I was going to change all these things around me, and the only thing I can change is my own attitude and actions. And when I do that, none of the other stuff matters. There's still a liquor store on the corner. People still are down having a happy hour in the circle. I don't change those things, but if I try and change myself, with pragmatic either steps or therapy, then I'm winning. I can be in any world and I'll be happy, joyful.
Yeah, exactly. And how was it for you with your, your friends, your colleagues, initially, perhaps, in the early months? Because, you hear people say that can be their biggest fear is how, are others going to accept them? Or are they going to be the sober shamers? Will they ever fit in to anything again socially? What was that like for you?
I was kind of proud to say, I'm not drinking, or that because I felt like I had so many people to explain that to who I'd heard or saw me using for so many days in a row and years in a row. So I felt proud to say, hey, I'm not drinking anymore. But I didn't realize, and this took a few years to see that, I had to move into some new friend groups and people groups. There was people that didn't want to hang out with me, and they were friends. They were people I'd known for decades, and I couldn't understand it. It hurt me a little bit for a while, but I think to some degree, I had to remember when I was drinking and when I was using, I didn't want to hang around a sober person. I didn't want to go be with church people who didn't drink, or if they didn't, or I didn't want to be with people that weren't doing what I was doing. And so
Yeah.
here I was, the sober guy, all happy to be clean, but I couldn't understand why some of my old friends weren't calling up and we couldn't hang out because I didn't want to go to the pub. I didn't want to go out, and they didn't want to go watch or hang out in the middle of the day with no drinks. And so I lost some, but it's okay because I think there was healing and gain, and I've found a new community around me.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the connections you make when you're sober are very meaningful. You know, we tend to meet. You know, there are amazing connections. So tell us about the stuff you're doing now then. So, well, first, tell us about the book, first of all. What do we get from the book? What have you, I mean, how did you write the book? Did you kind of always keep diaries and stuff, or did you just go back in your memory?
I had not really been a formal diary keeper, but when we went off to do our first album, Cracked Review, in Los Angeles, I thought, as I'm walking out the door, I should probably notate some of this. You know, this is before the internet or any of that stuff. And I thought we could go to LA and it could be our last album. It could flop. We could break up. Anything could happen. I'm going to write down what we do there. So I have a journal that I went back from, March of 94 when we were out there in March and April, and it has something that we did every day. I've got ticket stubs, concerts or ball games we attended, all the stuff we did in the studio. And years later, probably 20 years after that album came out, I opened that up and realized what a gift that was to remembering exactly what happened there, because there were no press covering four guys called Hootie and the Blowfish in 1994. We were a baby band. We didn't have a photographer in the studio. There were no video people following us around to interview us. We were just an experimental band on Atlantic Records. And what we did there was only between the four of us, our producer and the engineer and the A&R guy. And this diary I had was the only real artifact of that. And that was what inspired me to start maybe writing about the band's journey. But really, I wanted to write about the recovery journey, because I feel like people that are on the edge of maybe being fearful of taking a step needed to hear how I did it against some odds. And so I wrote a book that sort of went through how I found Hootie and the Blowfish, the miracle that happened when Letterman invited us, and then what happens when life is disappointing or unfair, or you get dropped from your label, what really happens, and how I used alcohol to try and deal with that, the emotions I couldn't control and didn't understand. The great thing is the book, because of the timing of it, I'd had a bunch of sobriety behind me. I had a rather twisted, fun tale of divorce and sort of rebirth and remarriage that you'll have to read the book to discover. But I ended up married to a person that is everyone in the band knew, and maybe one person in the band was actually married to. So we start again, Laura and I, and we have stepkids, and a big Hootie family becomes even more twisted than ever. And so the timing was great. And I finished it sort of right before COVID. So it gets sort of a happy ending where we've reunited, had a brilliant 50-show tour of 20,000 seat arenas. And Laura and I are well down the road of our marriage, and our kids are going off to college. The timing was quite serendipitous, I'll say. I didn't have to have a COVID story. I didn't have to have any of that. Anyway, I've been bringing out the last year. We spent going out. I'll play music because I'm one of the songwriters in the band and the background singers, and I'll play music that is affiliated with the Hootie story that the fans know. I tell stories from the book. I do bookstores, fundraisers. There's all sorts of lanes. I'm a corporate speaker as well. So
Great. Aren't you doing are you doing anything on the Christian music scene as well?
Yeah, I started writing some more Christian themed music to try and point people to the celebration of rebirth, sobriety for me, probably in 2012, put out 3 EPs called Found in Love, and then put out another EP last year. I've got a new project about to release as well. That's a re-release, but I've invited some new guests to sing some new versions of the song. So it's an exciting time for me because, as creatives, we want to have something in front of us, right? We're only as good as our next creative dream, I think. And so to have something like this on the plate is a nice thing for me to energize towards as we move to the end of the year.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it sounds great. I can't wait to finish the book. Swimming with the Blowfish sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me. And I know you've been listening to some of my podcasts. That's very nice.
I'm loving it. I have got to hear some wonderful speakers. I try to get to England. I'm a big football fan,
Okay.
in soccer, and so I've been over numerous times chasing games over there. And so I love, and we have the book released over there in the UK on Omnibus Press. So I'll send you the link, and you can post that maybe. But no, I just enjoy conversing about the celebration of not drinking anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Soni. I absolutely love it. Great story, and the book sounds fantastic. Thank you so much. And if you come over to London, let me know. Let's meet up. We should do something together. Do an event or something. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll call when we get there, and
Cool.
Call me if you need me again.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much. Really appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you, Soni. And a big thanks again to Helen and Jonathan from Sober AF Dating, who are our sponsors for this week's podcast. And of course, popped up at our live event at Club Soda last week as well. I'll see you same time next week. If you're struggling, by the way, always reach out and tell somebody. You may not want to join us in the Sober Club. Perhaps you don't want to go to any events, whether it's Sober AF Dating or anybody else. And it's your choice. It honestly is. But do tell someone. Just tell someone. Reach out. Just drop me a message. I'll just at least hold the vision for you. And there's that extra layer of accountability if you're doing this. Even if you've just told one person, there's that little extra layer that makes you kind of think, oh, well, maybe I'll push through for one more night, because then I won't have to send Janie another message. Okay. So you know where to find me, at Janie Lee Grace. Do join us in the Sober Club. If you don't want to do any of that, but you want to buy me a coffee, that would be most appreciated. You just go to buymeacoffee.com/Janie Lee Grace. But of course, if we can meet in real life, then mine's a flat white. I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.